Hey guys, this is Brad from Blue Nile Farms. Today I want to cover a topic called hay huts and some of the benefits of having one. This hay hut's 20 years old. It took a beating and it needs to be repaired. And I'm going to be going out today and purchasing a new one. But before I do, I want to take you around and show you why I'm investing in hay huts, why they're worth it. And this is the 7th hay hut that I've actually owned. And I still own every one of them for the last 20 years. So stay tuned and I'll kind of show you some of the benefits of hay huts and how you can save yourself money. So a hay hut is basically a dome plastic structure, which is right behind me here, and it has basically 8 holes. And so you can have at least 8 horses sit around a feeder that is basically loaded with the round bale. Normally, the sizes can range from 4x4 all the way to 6x6, at least in this version. And basically, you set them on a pallet, and the horses will eat that round bale after you unstring it, and basically keeps that hay bale dry and keeps the weather off. And that's really the objective of it. Also, the objective is also to reduce waste, which is something that's really apparent with round bales. And if you look around the base where these horses are standing, there's really no waste other than any hay that they pull out and they actually step on. So the idea is to save yourself money in the long haul by not having so much waste. You know, this year I lost a building and a lot of my hay has been exposed. So this is a great year for me to show you in contrast what it looks like when you have hay that's actually fed out, that's not in a hay hut, and one that actually is. And that's something that you'll get a good taste of here in a second. So, but I like to show you that a lot of horses, they sit there, they eat all they want, and this really works out really well for me. And, you know, there's really no waste, and that's where you're saving the money in the long haul. So here's actually an example of a pad where we would just take a round bale, throw it on this pad, unstring it, and allow the horses to actually go out here and eat. And you can see the amount of waste that's here. And I'm going to bet you there's at least 2 round bales worth of waste, maybe not 3, that has been pulled out and it kind of trampled on. And I've had a lot of bales on here in the last 3 to 4 months, but you know, I had equal amount of bales over here on these hay huts. And I would say I probably lost at least 3 round bales. And if you're paying for round bales, even $40 a piece, we'll say, you know, times 3, that's $120 wasted. And, you know, that's only in 3 to 4 months. If you multiply that by the year, you know, that's another $400 a year you're wasting just in hay if you just leave them out like this. So a hay hut will actually pay for itself real well. The other thing too on a hay hut is I know the longevity end of it. I've had my hay huts for 20 years. Then they start to get damaged. And if you can repair them along the way and you don't allow them to get as bad as I did up to this year, I think you can maintain it and do a lot better job. And basically they're going to last for you for a long period of time. And that's the important aspect, is keeping these things working, because I'm sure they can last a lot longer as long as you take care of them. So that's really what it comes down to. And you know, again, you'll save yourself a lot of money by investing in a hay hut. The initial outlay is expensive. Like I say, they're about $1,000 a piece if you can find used ones. And there's different brands that are on the market, but some aren't as made as durable as I think the hay huts are. You know, my neighbor has another brand. I don't know what brand it actually is. It's very flimsy, and the thing falls apart and it blows away with the wind. I've never had a hay hut actually blow away on me, but I've seen his blow hundreds of feet away, so it must be a very light and non-durable product. So my suggestion is, you know, look into hay huts. So I think that they're pretty well, but over the years they've redesigned their hay huts in a lot of different ways, and they are molded with different types of plastic. And the version I have now is definitely a lot different, a little bit, than the newer version or the older version. But I think they're very durable right now, and I think they may last a little bit longer than what they did 20 years ago. But we'll see. And jury's out on that one still. So another thing that's really nice about having hay huts and having multiple hay huts is that we have multiple horses. So I have about 4 to 5 different hay huts in one pasture where, you know, we might have 17 horses in here, but they're enough that they aren't going to get crowded or beat up by other horses, so they all have access to hay. And that's kind of why I've actually started to crew more hay huts, because I find them to be better to put the hay out, and so the horses can graze and eat when they want. And even if there's grass out here, you know, we always keep hay throughout the year, 365 days a year, because, you know, again, they're grazing animals, and we want them to have full access and constantly consume, you know, feed, just because of issues of colic and so forth, that, you know, they're always got something in their system. And you know, I see a lot of people, they have horses in my neighborhood, they never feed them, and they basically have nothing. So they stand around all day waiting for those 2 flakes at the end of the day. And I'm not a real big proponent of that. I think that horses should have access 24/7 as much as they can for the most part, especially when they're turned out, and it keeps them, you know, active. You know, I think that makes a big difference. But anyway, you know, these hay huts, you have 2 options. You can either lift them off a bale and set them down, or if you don't have the equipment, you're gonna have to flip them over. Now, if you notice this feeder here, the horse is eating from the top down. And what's nice is when you take the string off, the bale actually falls. And what you'll notice is it doesn't fall, you know, on the ground and get trampled on like these other horses. Let's go out now. Let me show you a horse that's eating right now, a round bale that's unprotected. Here's a horse that's actually eating a typical round bale that a lot of people do. They throw the horse out, they let the horse eat it at the round bale. He pulls it down, he steps on, he defecates on the hay, and just basically makes a big mess. So, you know, you can see the actual aspect of waste. And this is another spot that we've put a lot of hay out, and it just doesn't go anywhere. So let's take a quick look at that round bale in that area. So even on this site here that I just have moved, I probably have another bale wasted on the ground where these horses were consuming. And we've put several round bales on this spot over a period of time. Now, if the bale is not protected, I always lay them on the side like they are in the field when they're baled, so the water sheds off the top of them. And I'm not really a big proponent of this, but if you do have to put out a bale without a hay hut, definitely put them on the side. And I put them on their side also in the hay feeders at sometimes, but generally I put them with the flat end down because it sits on a pallet better. Also, when you take the strings off for the net wrap, the hay actually just starts to fall off and falls into the feeder, and they can pick through it better. You know, and if the horse finds hay that they don't like, they'll pull it out of that feeder, and that's pretty much the hay that you see on the ground. Is if they don't like it, they'll pull it out. If they like it, they'll leave it on the ground. If they don't like it, they'll leave it, and they stample on it. But basically the best part is actually having that there. Another good practice you should do over the winter time with a hay hut is you want to move it around once in a while, every 6 months or so, and get rid of all that wet hay that's on the ground. Because in the summertime you'll get a lot of gnats and stuff in there, and secondly, that hay doesn't do you no good. It'll never dry up. You just got to get it out of here and compost and get it out of your way. That's just good practice anyway, to keep these areas clear. So in another month or two, I'm going to be gathering up all that hay with the grapple and pushing in a big pile and then composting it and turning it back into cash as compost. So nothing's ever gone to waste here, but the point is that it's got to be used and used properly. You know, and like I say, I hate wasting hay like this, but with my barn down, you know, it's just enough. I'll throw as much feed out as I can for these animals because, you know, why let it go to waste? So if you have a compact tractor with forks, you're not going to get that lift capacity. The forks, even a smaller big tractor, you can come in the holes and pick it up, and then you'll do less damage. If you have a utility size tractor, you know, one with a spear, and you can lift about 13, 14 foot tall, you know, then you can go into the top of the hook, basically with a bale spear. You could use a grapple, you could even use forks, basically pick that up that way as well. Bottom line is, the bigger the tractor, the easier it is to move these things around and be able to actually lift it up and set it down on top of a bale. The best thing I suggest is use a pallet, like I said, on the ground. Put your round bale, basically unstring it or cut the net wrap off of it, and then cover it with the tractor if you can. If you can't, flip this thing on its side. It's basically made in 2 halves. Take the side that has basically the half, and that's where it's cut. Basically flip it over and set a bale down on that pallet, and then you can push this thing back over the top of it. We've done that many times as well, especially before we had the right types of equipment. But it all works. It'll save you money in the long run. And the other rule of thumb I tell you, if you have about 5 horses, I would probably have a round bale feeder for every 5 horses, or even every 6 horses. That's probably a good number, because if you get too many, they'll kind of fight around the feeder and they can do some damage to it. And eventually, like I say, if they do crack, you can fix it. You just kind of need to know how to do that, and it's pretty simple to do. Also, for most people, if you look at hay huts, to most of you, this thing's broken all the way across the top, and it actually needs to be welded with a plastic welder, and that's something I'm going to do on another YouTube video. I've already repaired one of these hay huts using a plastic welder, and I've done a really good job. So I'm going to also highlight this one as well, because I'm going to be utilizing a different method. But the bottom line is this, and what I'm trying to get at. These hay huts take a beating, and they are repairable. I let this go way too long before I got into plastic welding. But if you have a hay hut and it does get damaged, you can repair it and you can save it, and it's relatively very simple to do. if you're interested in doing that. So I have other videos on my channel regarding plastic welding where I highlight how to do this. So if you have a hay hut and you have it damaged or it does get damaged, you know, check out my video and I'll show you how to repair these things. They're not really that hard to do, and it's very simple, and it's at a low cost, because replacement costs for a hay hut are about $1,000 for a brand new one right now. And if you can find a used one, you know, that's the way to go. But if you can fix them and put them back in operation for another year or two, if not better, why not go that route? So again, check out those videos. They'll be helpful for you down the road as well. Hey guys, thanks for watching my video on hay huts. You know, I really think that these are really good units to have. They're definitely a cost savings, especially if you're dealing with round bales and you really reduce your waste. You know, they're about $1,000 a piece brand new. I just picked one up used that's a year old for 750 bucks. 20 years ago, they were about $600 a piece. And, you know, they were pricey then, they're pricey now, but you definitely recover your investment over a period of time. And I can tell you, they will last you at least 20 years. And if you do a better job repairing them, which I failed to do, and you would have stuck on that process of plastic welding, you would definitely not have any problems. And these hay huts are best to be used with horses. I mean, they probably would work for llamas and alpacas, but definitely keep them away from cattle. They would definitely do a lot of damage. And I think that overall, they're a great investment. So thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.